Hey, welcome back to Pain and Revival podcast. Today I have a very special guest from Beverly, Massachusetts, Dr. Jamie Engel. How are you today?
Good. So good to see you.
It's good to see you as well.
Yeah.
So, me and you, we met at a LCW
Oh
conference
yeah.
a few years
hmm
ago.
Long time
Great
ago.
conference. And we've always connected. We've always just
Mhm.
shared a special connection from the moment we met. And you've been through some trauma just like everyone else has. So, we want to share about that a little bit?
I love how blunt you are. Like, hey, just tell us about your trauma.
Yeah.
Seriously, I love you so much. Well, I think like it's such a vague question. So I think being somebody who's been through, I mean, I have to say it's probably the multiple traumas, I think, would probably be the appropriate thing. But I think the theme of, looking back at my life and the things that have taught me lessons, we'll say, like the traumas that taught me lessons, right? They all led to where I am today. So there's been multiple things. And what I talked about, so I was just saying to you, I spoke at a Women's Connect, North Shore Women's Connect group on Friday. It was like 150 women at a panel, and we talked about times in our life we pivoted. And I remember we had our application. One of my patients nominated me to speak at it. And you know me, I'm the science geek. So I speak science, I speak health and wellness. They want me to speak about my personal journey. And I was like, oh, I don't really talk about that, because
Mhm.
part of it, I think as you get older, you get less embarrassed. And it's almost like, for lack of a better word, you're proud of what you've been through, especially if you've overcome it.
Right.
So after kind of thinking, they gave us a short amount of time because it was also Q&A, and there were 14 panelists, and like they went from room to room, and I was in the first room. And when I filled out the application process, they're like, tell us about a time you've pivoted change in your life, which is of course trauma.
Right.
And I was in a really sassy Scorpio mood, and so I
Mhm.
was like, oh, which time, business or personal? Like
Right.
business, like COVID hitting, like when they redid our street and like made it impossible to get to my office, or personal, like marrying an alcoholic, dating a narcissist. And then I thought I was really sassy, so I didn't think they were going to pick me. And I guess out of like 40 nominees, they picked 16, and I was one of them. And so apparently I was just sassy enough for them to choose. So
Right.
what we decided after talking to some of my close friends was that what dawned on me is really my story. Those things I've attracted in my life really stems down to my upbringing,
Mhm.
because the lessons, if we don't learn our lessons from our upbringing, you're going to keep attracting in your life until you learn that lesson. And so what I spoke about was something that's very hard for me to speak about. It was actually the first time I ever talked about it. I talked about my mom.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I get a lot, so I moved here from California, right? I moved across the country, and people are always like, oh my God, Dr. Jamie, why would you move here from California? By the way, yesterday was my mass anniversary. So I thought that was
Mhm.
really funny.
Right.
I moved out here May 15th, 2008. So,
Yeah.
and here I am. It's
I
just
love that
funny.
you I love that you call it mass anniversary.
It's mass anniversary. And it was funny. I've normalized that term so much that I just expect everyone to know, like, it's my mass anniversary. They're like,
What? Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone always is like, why the heck would you move from California to
Mhm.
Massachusetts? And usually I brush it off and say, oh, I had a job offer, which
Mhm.
wasn't untrue. I had a great job offer from a chiropractor who's a business coach. She coached under one of the biggest practice management groups of the time. And so I got to go to all those seminars. It was fabulous. Like I learned so much about practice management,
Right.
things you don't learn in school, right? So
Mhm.
it was great, and it was such a lesson for now with my practice. But what I talked about was the real reason I moved out here, because that was only part of it. I actually started my talk, which I think you would have loved. I would have gotten some snaps from you.
Yeah.
I got up on the stage and I said, "Hi, my name is," and they have our bio, so they seen
Mhm.
I have all my awards on my wall, like Business Person of the Year last year, Beverly Chamber of Commerce. I am on the past president of Beverly Main Streets. I'm a board member for the chamber. I've done all these things. I've won all these awards. And I got up there and I said, after reading I said, I'm Dr. Jamie. It's like an AA meeting. I'm Dr. Jamie, and I'm the black sheep of my family.
Oh my gosh. I love
And
it.
everyone's like, wait, what? And I go, yeah, I know. I was like, you probably are like, what the heck? I'm like, I'm not a criminal. I'm not an addict. I mean, if you look at my bio, I look pretty damn good on paper,
Yeah.
And I have a great degree from the University of California. I speak in the chiropractic world and science. Like, speak at organizations. Like, what do you mean? I've had a practice, my own practice for 13 years, a thriving practice, right? How the hell am I the black sheep? And so, but I said to them, I had to go back to 2008 and kind of to understand why I had to literally leave my family and cut myself off from them. They actually cut me off at the beginning, but now it's different. So, if you want to ask me about my mom, I will be
Yeah.
open and honest with you because it's not something I usually talk about. So, and I think that relationship, and you know this, right?
Hmm.
What the love you learn as a kid is the love that you assume is normal.
Yeah.
So I wish someone would have told me that. You only accept the love that you think you deserve, right?
Yeah, I saw a quote the other day. I think it was, I don't know, I don't remember it fully, but basically, it was saying that if you don't have something, if you don't have love, you'll lick it off of a knife.
Mm-hmm.
Like you
Mm-hmm.
take it from
Yep.
whatever and
Yep.
you accept
Yep.
it no matter what it is, even if you know you
100%.
deserve better, you know?
Yes. Yes. So
Um,
there's a great story in the book Mastery of Love, which I tell a story all the time about, if you have a kitchen and it's empty, you have no food, right? And a guy comes to your door with a greasy piece of pizza and he wants $1,000 for it and you're starving,
mhm.
right? You're going to buy it. But if your house is full of love or full of love, full of food, right? Or love, you're going to look at the guy, laugh at him and send him off. And so that's a great story that's from the Mastery of Love, meaning
Yeah.
that if somebody comes to you with conditional love and not healthy love, you're going to take whatever you can get, like you said, lick it off a knife, and that's terrible. But as a kid, we don't know any different, you
Right. Or
know.
even like for me now, it's kind
Yeah.
of reversed. Like I was so used to conditional love and now I've created
Mm-hmm.
relationships with certain people who are like
Mm-hmm.
my father. Like I look at them as a
Yep.
father or I look at them as a mom and I get so like upset and I cause chaos and I self-sabotage
Mm-hmm.
because I'm so used to having conditional love. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't expect anything from me? You don't get
Right.
anything from this. So why do you want to be with me? Like, why do you want to talk to me? Like, I don't understand. And
Right.
like, it takes a lot of time for you to understand. I'm
It's
sure you,
so hard. My God, Jesus, I'm what, 20 years ahead of you and 30
yeah.
years ahead of you, 20 years ahead of you. And I'm telling you, it took a really, really long time and some very bad relationships to kind of learn what that means. And really working on myself, really working on that. Like, so my mom has something called borderline personality disorder, and it is, yep, it is a very, very tough disorder because, they hide in the term addict because a lot of them are addicts and alcoholics. But it's intense short-term relationships. It's the Jekyll Hyde. And so in your life, when you get a present and they hold it over your head, conditional love, or you feel like you're walking on eggshells around your mom because she might flip, you're conditioned to think that's normal, and that's the only
Mhm.
love you know. Like my father didn't learn his lesson. His mother was a Holocaust survivor because they say trauma brings out borderline personality disorder. So
Mhm.
he married his mother. So he never learned his lesson. My sister married an alcoholic. She never learned her lesson, and I think she has BPD as well because there's a 50% chance that if one of your parents have it, you're going to get it, which
Right.
is insane, like a 47%. The kids, I looked this up for my talk, anxiety, depression, ADHD, that's all sound familiar, right?
Mhm.
And even the suicide rate of having a parent with BPD is huge. And it wasn't until I was in chiropractic school when they cut me off the first time. That was really tough because I had to basically, I had to put myself through school anyway, but working all three jobs trying to do it.
Mhm.
And she was like a fall down drunk. And at that point, I was like, I think there's something. I knew there's something not right about her, but maybe it's alcoholism. I did the Al-Anon thing, and I remember saying to my mom, like, you can't be my life. I said, either you get clean, you stop drinking, or it's over. I don't want you in my life anymore. And she basically blamed me. It was the emperor's new clothes. Remember that story?
Mhm.
And she turned my entire family against me, and it
Yeah.
was horrible. So trying to take boards, trying to get through chiropractic school with that, and luckily I had a great relationship with a guy at the time whose family was so supportive. We were together 7 years, and he really helped me with it. But I still struggled. Like I was the bad person in that relationship because
Mhm.
I didn't know how to accept love like that.
Mhm.
And then unfortunately after that, it was just attracting because my mom and I had this on and off. I really wanted to have a relationship with her. And it got to the point where it was just like the best thing I could do is just split. And they say that with borderline personality disorders that like if these people if they don't want to get help, you can't have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
Um, you just
I
have to
think
cut it out.
I think the worst thing is like especially with your parents, is you
Mhm.
want that so
Of
bad,
course you
especially
do.
when you
Of
grew up
course you
with it
do.
neglected from you.
Okay.
So like even now, like I know that I don't need to be around my mom and I don't need to talk to
Mhm.
her, but sometimes I just really want to, or it's like I have
Yes.
people who are like my parents or
Yes.
who have taken me in, but it's just like it's not the same.
It's not.
And it makes you feel guilty almost because you're like, I have all these great people, but I don't have this one person in my life
Yeah.
who's, and it's just so strange. I don't know if you've ever
It's
dealt with
hard.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I dealt with that a lot. What's crazy cool, like you just said, which I love, like I love that you've already you're so ahead of your years. I love you. But knowing that the universe provides. I have
Mhm.
incredible adopted parents, like pretty much, I have, I always wanted a brother and I have like pretty much four. Like I was at a baseball game last weekend with four of my nephews were playing against each other pretty much, I have god kids. I created that family I wanted when I moved out here.
Mhm.
And that's, I always look back and go, I thought I must have been crazy to move cross country, either crazy or desperate, because I just needed to completely isolate myself from that situation. I love the saying that, you do share your blood with your appendix, but if it's so toxic it's about to explode and kill you, you
Mhm.
cut that shit out,
Right. Yeah.
right? You cut
Yeah.
that out.
Honestly, I've never
you
heard that
know
before. That's great.
But it's true, right? And so, I remember when I was in chiropractic school, I was, oh my God is good, right? One of my student patients, her mother specialized in borderline personality disorder. When I had the aha moment that this is my mom.
Right.
It's pretty sad when you're in a psychology class and you're like, personality disorders, narcissist. Oh, that's my uncle. Borderline personality.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that sounds like my mother.
Right.
Wait, this isn't normal? And she was amazing. She took me under her wing, gave me one hell of a cheap rate to go see her. Her mother was a borderline personality disorder, and I think she was the first person in my life, because everyone tells you, right? It's your mom, you have to love her. Like
Yeah.
it's your mother, you have to love her. And your mom's not that bad. What are you talking about? She's so sweet because Jekyll and Hyde, right? She puts on a good act. So she was the first one to look at me and say, you don't have to love your mom. And I remember like, I think I just bawled my eyes out the rest of the day, and then I read books like, Growing Up with a Parent with Borderline Personality Disorder. There's some really good books out there about it.
Mhm.
And now I'm not, and I said this in the seminar, like, I'm not angry. Like, I hold so much gratitude to my mother. And
Mhm.
anytime I think of someone in my life that created trauma, right? Or um, wasn't the best to me, we'll say, right?
Mhm.
I have my Dr. Jamie 3-word rule. You can totally steal this from me. I grabbed three things that they taught me, right? My mom made me a great doctor, right? She taught me what real love is by teaching me not, right? And
Mhm.
then she moved me to where I was supposed to be in life. I would not be here. And my friends and I toast my mom all the time. I'm not angry. I'm insanely grateful. So you get to that point where you're hurting, you're resentful. And actually, Mel Robbins talked about this last night. Then you move to a phase of where you can't have them in your life anymore. But then there's a point in your life where you move on to the gratitude, and it is a beautiful spot.
Mhm.
It was funny. A couple months ago, my dad tried to connect me with my mom because my dad knows that my mom knows that's the only way to me is for my dad because I love my dad.
Yeah.
But he's so codependent on her. That week, you'll never believe, I had two narcissists pop into my office. It was a mother of a kid who wanted to start care, horrible woman. She literally reminded my mom. And then this woman
Mhm.
who was working on the building who thought it was okay to break HIPAA and walk and storm right into my office. And I was like, what the hell are you? Like, literally, I'm in the middle of adjusting patients
Right.
and gone to a pissing match with me. And I was like,
Mhm.
aha, I see what you're doing. You're
Yeah.
testing me. I
Yeah.
had a narcissist last year try to date me. Oh man, it was awesome. I think I made his head spin when I was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're going to be tested. I mean, I've had, oh my God, talk about girlfriends I've with borderline personality disorder.
Mhm.
Holy shit. The name calling. They're my best friend. They're the best thing. I'm the best thing ever happened to them. And then they discard me and call me names
Yeah.
and literally blow up at me when I did nothing.
Right.
Right. Like it's a Jekyll Hyde, and it's
Mhm.
crazy. And just knowing where that is, and learning your lessons, it's huge, and cutting that out of your life when you
Yeah.
see it. I'm sorry, I'm all set. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm all set.
Yeah.
I don't need that in my life.
I
you
think
know
this is so interesting because you're like, we relate so much on this, and
hmm
you are the advanced version of me. Like you're me in the
Yeah.
future. And because I'm still
You're
in
even
that
quicker.
I'm still in that place though, a little bit where I'm still kind of angry. And it's like I try to
It's
pretend like
okay.
I'm
Yeah.
not.
You're loud.
And it's like I take it out on other things, like not people really, but like
Yeah.
even then though, like people I'm really close with, I do think I catch myself and I'm like, they didn't deserve that. They didn't do
No.
anything
No.
for that, you know? Or it's just like
Mhm.
little things happen and it sets me off because I'm so angry deep down about what happened to me. Even though like
Yeah.
I'm in that weird in between phase where it's like I'm angry, but I'm also grateful because I know that I wouldn't be who I am without what happened to me or what happened for me. I shouldn't say to me, but you know, so it's just weird being in that in between phase, and then you're like, you're over here. So it's
I'm
just
you in
like,
the future. I'll take it. You know,
yeah,
what did they say last night? He said that I think it was Jay Shetty that said like anytime something bad or you fail or whatever, you just say to yourself, "This is setting me up for a later time. This is gonna set up my story." That's what he said.
yeah,
This is just a part of my story, and it's such
mm-hmm.
a cool thing to like say to yourself, you know what? This is just a part of my story. Every
Right,
breakup, whether it's a friend or relationship, this is just part of my story,
yeah,
and you will come out stronger. I promise you that.
yeah,
You will be successful. You will have those tools and you're allowed to be angry. Oh yeah. If you don't think, there are times I call my best friend Joanne, thank God bless my best friend, the whole entire world, crying, going, it's not freaking fair that I got that these are my parents. It's not
mm-hmm.
fair. And I said, you know what? You know how grateful I am, but you know what? Once in a blue moon, I just need to have a good cry. I was so excited to tell my dad I won Business Person of the Year, and it was about the same time I broke my hand, and
Mm-hmm.
he was just like, I was like, hey, guess what? Like, I won a big freaking award. Like, hello, like, and he was just like, what'd you do to your hand? And I'm like, do you not want to talk about the fact that like it was so toxic? And it was just like, I was so mad. And it's okay. You can be mad. But you know what's funny? The last thing I said at that seminar on Friday,
Mm-hmm.
I said that the message, and I talked about the things that helped me get through it. Oh my God, I wish I had my cue cards with me. One was like, hold gratitude, learn your lessons, especially like, I was such a bad people pleaser. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God. And you know, what's funny? Mel Robbins said last night, people pleasing is just manipulation in disguise. I'm like, that's only if you didn't have a toxic
Oh,
mom.
right, yeah,
Yeah. Because you're trying, and I said, no, 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 it's not manipulation. It's control freak. Because
yeah,
I thought I can control my mom by being perfect.
mm-hmm.
And I try to control the situation by trying to be perfect and beating myself up. You cannot do that. Like, you have to learn your lessons on that and putting yourself first,
Right,
and it's okay to say no. It
yeah,
is totally okay to delegate and say no. And I talked about like even how it formed my relationships. Like, even if someone gives me a present now, like, I'm still uneasy. I patiently presents on my desk and I don't even like opening. I'm like, I get weird. I
yeah.
it I get
I don't
weird.
like getting gifts either.
Yeah, because my mom used to hold it over my head. I'm such
Yeah,
a great mom. Look what I did for you. I'm gonna just take that away.
yeah.
It's
Or
yeah, it's
my
so
mom would
unhealthy.
always like it would be like for a while, for a few months, she would be like literally abusing me and going crazy and like starving me. And then it'd be like, oh, let's go get our nails done. Somehow she'd like accumulate
Jekyll
this
and
money
Hyde.
from somewhere.
Oh yeah, Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah. And so it's like
Jekyll and Hyde.
we'd go out and then I'd still be unhappy. And she's like, you're so ungrateful. I've done all this for
Yep.
you today. And I'm
Yep.
like,
That is
yeah, but
that is textbook borderline personality. Those are the words I used to hear.
right. Yeah.
Like
It's
it's
just,
crazy, right? But they
yeah.
would still, narcissism's part of it.
Mhm.
And it's like, but I want to show off how gorgeous you are and successful you are.
Yeah.
The only time my mom ever tries to like get back into my life is when I win an award, because she wants to be able to tell her people that that's my daughter,
Yeah.
like
It's
it's
so
wild.
that you mentioned that because I don't think I've actually talked about this before, but and it's
Yeah.
not a big deal, but not recently, it was like a year ago or something. My mom, she created a Facebook page. Like she literally accumulated all these photos of me. I don't know where she got them from. She
Oh my
accumulated all these
God.
photos. She posted them all over Facebook and was like, "Oh, this is my baby. I'm so proud of her," and acting like I was still in her life and like acting
Yeah.
like everything
That
was
sounds
normal.
about right.
So
Yeah.
it's just so funny that you mentioned that. 'Cause
Delusional.
my mom literally like that's what she used to do.
Hmm.
She still does it, even though I'm not even in connection with her. I haven't
Yep.
spoke to her in 4 years, and
Yep.
she still does it. So
Yep.
it's just crazy. And
Yep.
but other people are going through this, and I think it's so important that we've both shared our stories because other people are going through it as well. And sometimes I think, especially, I don't know if you're the eldest daughter, but I'm the eldest daughter.
No,
So
I'm the
it's
baby. My
uh,
sister, but my sister, like, she was, with borderline personality, if there's two kids, one's the good kid, one's the bad kid. And there's nothing the good kid can do that when I was younger, I could have probably gone to jail. My mom said that the person deserved it. My sister would leave a sock on the floor and she was grounded.
Yeah.
It was insane. So my sister, I mean, that kind of trauma, my sister was like, and now we switch. So now my sister and my mom are buddies and they post on Facebook together and all that. And they both block me. I don't care. But like, now she's the good kid and I'm the black sheep, and it's fine. I'd rather have it. I was like, dude, you can have her.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I got plenty of adopted parents and stuff, but
Right.
what I love, the last thing that I said Friday at that seminar to those 150 women, I said, my message is basically this, just because you were dealt a really crappy deck of cards doesn't mean you can't win the game.
Yeah.
You can't give up, and you're going to lose some rounds. Think poker, right? Learn your lessons.
Yeah.
Learn your lessons. Don't give up, and always stay grateful. Keep your gratitude. Every lesson is a lesson learned. It's not a failure. It's, you got to learn your lesson. If you don't learn your lesson, the universe is going to send it right back to you.
Exactly.
I always laugh at stuff.
Something I always say is failure is only failure if you give up. So
no, don't give up.
Never give
you
up.
just gotta be stubborn.
And that's so cliche. Yeah, exactly. Stubborn is a great personality trait.
Okay.
Some people, people try to insult me with it. They're like, "You're so stubborn." I'm like, "Thank you. Thank you for telling me that."
I don't give up easy.
I want to close up with one thing, and I just want to. And this is going to be you're going to be like, "Whoa, that's a crazy question." How do you achieve happiness?
By being grateful in what you have. We were just talking about this. So I grew up in a really affluent part of LA. So I think, and my mom, of course, loved that, we were a mechanic. We had a mechanic shop. We just got lucky. But I learned very early on that money doesn't bring happiness. Happiness is being grateful for what you have. I learned the hard way. I had the big house and the fence and the dog and the husband, right? And I never felt so alone in my life than when I was in that relationship.
Right.
And after that divorce, I learned that I'm a minimalist. Big houses stress me out.
Yeah.
I don't want to clean them. I don't want to take care of them. And I found the cutest condo, and I've lived there since before COVID now. And I found so much happiness in a smaller space. Because I love to travel. I want to spend my money on travel. I'd rather stay in a sick hotel than, pay for a mortgage that's insane.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just finding happiness in what you have, and being grateful. I'm grateful in my practice, and I'm grateful that, I went from crying over bills and I couldn't even afford to go to the gym. I ran, and I freaking hate running. Yeah. I couldn't afford a gym when I first moved out here. I was sleeping on an air mattress. I couldn't fall back on my family. What did I say the other day? I was like, when they were interviewing me for the business journey, I said, I didn't have the privilege to fail.
Right.
I didn't have a safety net.
Yeah.
I knew what it's like to have a very small food budget, right? Because when I first moved out here, I didn't have any patients, and associate rates back then were terrible.
Right.
So, I appreciate what I have. I appreciate the fact that I can go to the grocery store and not worry about how much money I'm spending there. I can book a really cool trip. It doesn't mean I'm not overspending, smartly, but being grateful. And I'm grateful of my health. I mean, if you want to be grateful of your health, break your hand as a chiropractor.
Right. Yeah.
Lives alone. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're not grateful, God, the universe is going to send you lessons to teach it to you until you learn it. And I have to say, that's one thing I really have worked on. And my friends will definitely tell you I'm obnoxious about it, because how can we not be grateful? We have food on our plate. We have roof over our head.
Just
there's
waking
people
up
doing a lot, but you woke up.
I know that's so cliche though, but waking up in the morning, that's a blessing, because you're not promised tomorrow. And I know it's not. So cliche. Oh my gosh.
No, I mean, how many times we learn the lessons life is short. My friend lost her husband on vacation in Florida. He was going to get the car to pull it up to bring the luggage up. Heart attack. Horrible. A couple years ago. Gosh. I mean, you never know. Life is so short, and to live every day and be grateful and, take that trip and go to that restaurant, but
Yeah.
be smart, um, is important. And take the risks and put the work in.
Yeah.
It's not going to be handed to you either. You got to put the work in.
Live every
So,
day like it's your last, and love like it's your last time being able to love someone
yeah,
too.
you really don't know.
Yeah. And
And it's so important, the whole gratitude.
I think that's what's important about like people who have been through like childhood trauma is we tend to, at least I know for me, like
Yeah.
we grow up and we're more aware of the fact that we're not promised tomorrow, and that, you know, love is important, and it's, we're not always allowed to, I don't even know what the word is I'm looking for, like to give it out. Sometimes like we can't talk. So like, what if you lost your voice? What if you couldn't see? What if you can hear? Just like little things like that. It's stuff that we look over because we're used to it.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
Right.
Holding gratitude, and it's so important, like you said, and if you feel like you're in a bad place, like one of my friends this week texted me, she's like, I'm in a bad place. A Scorpio moon, Scorpio, a lot of my Scorpio friends. I felt like it gave me fire this week. Like I was all fired up this week, so that was good. But a lot of my friends were like, what do I do? And I said, look, you need to right now pull out a paper. You write down 3 things you're grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you got to do it. I said, write down 3 things. Every day you wake up, I've heard this from so many speakers. You wake up and you think of 3 things you're grateful for. I don't even care if it's, if the sun is shining. I have breakfast on the table. I love my coffee. I'm healthy to walk to work. My legs are healthy. Even when you're working out, what a great way to give back to yourself and your body is giving it movement.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's
when I
something
moved about the gym,
that you're allowed, that you're able to work out, that you're able
Yeah.
to walk in the morning, you're able to wake up and breathe and do things on your own.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's people out there who would do anything to have that, especially after they've lost it. So
I think our sum is gratitude. That's what everything, it sounds like what we talked about,
holding gratitude. And I think that's literally the key to life is being happy in what you have. Money doesn't bring happiness. It helps if you're poor, that's for sure. That's
right. Yeah.
Definitely helps.
Yeah.
But happiness is, is being grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
Holding gratitude for what you have and all your blessings. You have so many blessings,
Yeah. All of us, we all do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
So good to talk to you. I miss you.
I miss you, and I love you so much.
I love you so much. I was so excited. You're like, you want to be my guest? I'm like, yes, you're my person. I just want to have a conversation with you. I don't care if anyone tapes it. I didn't swear. Aren't you proud of me?
I'm really proud of you. Oh my gosh. I was going to have to put the explicit thing on.
I know. It's like, don't swear. Don't swear.
You didn't. I'm proud of you. All right. Well, I have to go. I love you so much.
Oh,
thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing.
Love you so
Tune
much.
in next week, guys. Bye.
Bye.